He had 10 rounds left in the guns. 9 bombers were closing on the Lexington. February 20th, 1942. About 350 miles northeast of Rabaul, the middle of the South Pacific. Nearly 3,000 men on the carrier below. 1 F-4F Wildcat with working guns between them and the bombs. There was nobody else. I've sat with naval aviators who flew the Wildcat. They don't talk about the kill count when asked. They talk about the math. What's left in the guns? What's still coming? How many seconds before the next pass? Lieutenant Edward Henry Butch O'Hare had about 4 minutes. And the wingman the U.S. Navy had given him to fly cover with had just radioed in. His guns wouldn't fire. The Lexington was supposed to attack Rabaul. By February of 1942, Rabaul on the island of New Britain had become the forward Japanese base in the South Pacific. Fleet anchorage, airfield, the place every American carrier was eventually going to have to deal with. Task Force 11, built around USS Lexington, was sent to deal with it, commanded by Vice Admiral Wilson Brown. The plan was a single carrier strike, then withdraw before the Japanese could respond. The Japanese saw them coming on the morning of the 20th. A 4-engine flying boat spotted the task force at 10:15 in the morning. Wildcats from the Lexington shot it down. A second flying boat was shot down 90 minutes later. By that time, both sides knew what was coming. Brown turned the task force back. He hoped to be clear of range by dark. Aboard the Lexington, Lieutenant Commander John Thatch, the squadron commander of Fighting 3, was already in the ready room. He had been thinking about formations. O'Hare was 27 years old, born in St. Louis, Annapolis class of 1937. He'd been flying off carriers for 3 years. There's something in his file most viewers don't know. His father had been a lawyer for Al Capone. Easy Eddie O'Hare, they called him. In 1930, the father agreed to testify against Capone for the federal government. 3 years later, Capone went to Alcatraz. 6 years after that, in November 1939, 2 men in a passing car shot Easy Eddie O'Hare dead at a stoplight in Chicago. 2 years before Pearl Harbor, his son was already a Navy fighter pilot. He'd been preparing for something. Late in the afternoon, Lexington's radar picked up a contact closing fast from the southwest. Multiple aircraft. The carrier turned into the wind. Thatch put his Wildcats up. What came at them was a formation of 9 G4M Type 1 bombers, the Japanese Navy's new long-range twin-engine attack plane. They had departed Vunakanau Airfield on New Britain. They had been told the American carrier was south of Bougainville. They had found it. Thatch flight took them. The interception was textbook against a tight bomber formation. High side passes, close, hard. The first wave of 9 bombers was destroyed in 8 minutes. Some made it to within sight of the Lexington. None launched. The Wildcats flew back toward the carrier, low on fuel, most low on ammo. Then the radar picked up the second wave. Another formation, 9 more bombers, same direction, same altitude, same intent. Lexington's combat air patrol was depleted. Most of her Wildcats were either back on deck being refueled, or low on ammunition, or both. The fighters still airborne were over the carrier with empty belts. 2 were still in position to intercept. O'Hare and his wingman. His wingman was Lieutenant Marion Duff Dufilho. They had been flying together for months. Dufilho saw the bombers first. He called the contact. 9 G4Ms, low, 9 o'clock, level. He turned in, climbed to make the high side pass Thatch had drilled into them, opened the safety on his guns, lined up the lead bomber. Then he pressed the trigger. Nothing. He pressed it again. He cycled the safety. He cleared the breach the way the manual said. He cycled the gun chargers. All 4 of his .50 caliber Browning guns were jammed. Everyone. The bombers were at 10,000 feet, closing on the Lexington from the southwest, holding formation. They were minutes from the release point. Dufiglio flew the intercept anyway. He stayed alongside O'Hare in the same firing line. He was threatening the bombers with an aircraft that couldn't shoot, hoping the Japanese gunners would track him instead of his lead. It mostly worked. O'Hare went to work. The file goes quiet here. Now look at what he was doing. Anyone who's had a job they couldn't quit halfway through knows the feeling. The cost of stopping was higher than the cost of continuing. He was making the math work, one pass at a time. O'Hare came in from above. He had practiced this with Thatch 100 times in Hawaii, the high side approach. Climb above the bomber, roll inverted, pull down through the firing arc with the sun behind. Fire as the guns sweep across the perpendicular. Don't aim at the cockpit. Aim at the engines. Kill the engine. The bomber falls out of formation. The bomber never makes its release. Most pilots could do it once under combat. Hardly any could do it twice. To do it 5 times in 4 minutes required a pilot whose hands moved before the conscious decision arrived. O'Hare did it again, and again, and again. The first bomber took fire across the right engine and right wing. The engine pulled away from the wing root. The bomber fell out of formation. Some of the crew bailed, most didn't. He climbed out, banked, came back. The second bomber took fire across the left engine. The propeller seized. The aircraft started a slow turn to the left and lost altitude. It would not reach the Lexington. He climbed out. He came back. The third bomber had begun its bomb run on the carrier. He shot the right engine off. The bomber fell into the sea before it could release. He climbed out. He came back. 2 more bombers in quick succession. He fired bursts the action report later called uneconomical but successful. He had been engaged for 4 minutes. The Japanese formation was no longer a formation. The bombs that did fall fell wide. The Lexington took no hits, not one. Aboard the carrier, the bridge officers stopped narrating to each other and just watched. One of them, much later, told the official Navy historian that he had never seen flying like it, said he didn't think anyone had. O'Hare came back over the carrier on fumes. When the deck crew pulled the cowling on his Wildcat to refuel and rearm, they found a few rounds left in one of his guns. Here's where the record gets specific. The others were dry. His fuel was almost gone. He had taken 1 bullet through the wing into a stringer he didn't even know existed before that day. He didn't go inside immediately. He stood on the deck next to his aircraft for a long time. The Japanese had been driven off. Of the second wave of 9 bombers, 5 went down to O'Hare. Several others were damaged. The remainder turned away and tried to make it back to Rabaul. Most of those did not. They had been flying low and slow with damage, in formation that was no longer protecting them. Inside the squadron's ready room that evening, Thatch pulled O'Hare aside. He didn't say, "Good work." He didn't say, "You saved the ship." He looked at his wingman, and he grounded him from solo intercepts. It was the closest thing to a thank you a squadron commander could say in 1942. He was officially credited with 5 bombers in 4 minutes. The Medal of Honor citation, signed by President Roosevelt 2 months later, used that number. Post-war Japanese records suggest the actual count was 3, possibly 4. The action report split the difference. The bookkeepers can argue about the count. The formation broke. The ship lived. He became the first U.S. Navy ace of the war, the first naval aviator to receive the Medal of Honor in World War II. He was 27 years old. The Lexington was sunk 3 months later at the Battle of the Coral Sea. Most of her crew got off, not all. O'Hare was promoted to lieutenant commander. He stayed on combat operations. On the night of November 26, 1943, off the Gilbert Islands, He led a 3-aircraft night intercept against Japanese bombers attacking USS Enterprise. Something hit his aircraft. His wingmen lost him in the dark. He never radioed in. The Navy searched for 2 days. They found nothing. His body was never recovered. He was 29 years old. In 1949, the city of Chicago renamed Orchard Field. They called it O'Hare International Airport, after the naval aviator who was lost off the Gilberts. There's an F-4F Wildcat in Terminal 2, restored, painted in Fighting 3 colors, marked F-15. That was the number on the side of his aircraft on the day. I've sat with naval aviators who flew with men like him. They don't call what he did heroism. They call it the math. An ace doesn't pick the biggest threat. He picks the closest one, and he keeps picking, one at a time, until there's nothing left to shoot at. Most travelers walk past the aircraft on their way to a gate. The ones who know look up. There aren't many,